everyone. So nice to see you all. How's it going? Great to see you. Hi, Lucy. Looking lovely. Nice to see you. I would love for folks, if you feel comfortable, turning on your video. I would love that. Hey, Rahini, looking lovely. It's nice to virtually meet you again. Hey, Kristen. Hey, Bianca. Hey, Katie. Hey, Lucy. I've already said hi to Lucy. You get two hellos. Hey, Laura. Hey, Samantha, another familiar face. How awesome. Cool, cool, cool. Thanks for joining, everyone. It's day 3 of the Know Your Worth Challenge, and today is all about discounts. And we're combining today's session with, I'm going to run you through the Clear, Comped, and Confident Masterclass that will really talk you through the 3-step process that I've learnt over the last 10 years of coaching executive women and professional women around the world that will really change the way you approach your own attitude towards your career, and also how you negotiate and how you position yourself and your value and what you can expect from a salary situation. So let's jump on into it. I want to ask a question to start off with, though, before we kick off today. If you had to describe how you're feeling about your career right now in one word, what would you say? Pop it in the chat and let me know. What is that one word that kind of sums up where you're at right now? I would love to get a sense from you, because what I'm hoping is through the course of our conversation today, that we'll be able to get shifted from where we are today and a little more, so away from the tired, the awful, the frustrated, the slow, the stagnation, towards excited, seeing the opportunities, feeling in control. That's where I want to move us throughout the conversation today. And I'm going to talk you through how we're going to do that in just a second. So it's just really great to have a baseline understanding of like, where are you sitting right now with your career and where do you want to go, right? Because if you understand that, we're able to make a bigger shift because we then know where we're trying to go. So Laura's feeling pretty satisfied. So let's try and move you towards very satisfied towards the end of the conversation, Laura. Oh, here we go. Okay, can everyone see those slides? They're coming up okay? Cool, cool, cool. So I'm going to talk you through these today. And really what we're going to talk through the system today is how to fast track being paid what you deserve, right? Without the awkward negotiation, without feeling like you're going to be seen as high maintenance, right? Because hands up if you've ever felt like you're not able to ask because you think that you're going to be judged or seen as high maintenance, right? So yeah, there's a couple of us in that boat. I'm going to talk you through why I'm so obsessed with getting folks paid more money and why that's now my life mission. I'm going to talk you through this 3-step process that we talk about in the Career Level Up program. And then I'm going to invite you to learn more about what that paid program looks like to work with us over the next 8 weeks after you've completed the 5-day challenge this week. And hang around to the end, because we've got some epic bonuses for folks who hang around on the call. Even just for showing up today, I want to pay kudos to you for investing in yourself. And we're going to share with you the network map matrix process that we have. I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to email that to you for folks who are still hanging around at the end of the masterclass today. So Kim and Jersey on my team will keep a track of the chat and they'll send that to you. And then for folks who actually join our program today, you're also going to get access to 2 awesome bonuses, which is the Salary Scenario Bible and also the Boundaries Without Being Seen as Bitchy course that we've interviewed some amazing executive women who talk you through their scenarios there too. And I'm going to really explain to you the anti-negotiation framework that I think is super handy so that you're able to navigate your career and those salary conversations with ease. I'm not into BS. I'm not into fluff. I'm a journo from my training. So I'm very into facts and like getting to the point. So that's what we're going to do. We'll talk a little bit about my backstory, but I was a journalist for a very long time in Australia, in London for the BBC World, and more recently here in New York City. The framework that I'm going to talk you through today, I also teach with corporate clients, right? So we use this framework for our executive coaching programs and for the leadership programs we run for companies like UBS Bank, like Salesforce, like Novartis Pharmaceutical. And so this is the place for you for the next half hour if you really want to get an extra 5 to 30K in your pay packet. If that's you, then hang around. And if you're really overdue a pay raise, and if you're kind of sick and tired of being underpaid and undervalued, and if you want to be able to get to that place, right, where you can kind of like go on a fancy dinner or go on a fancy holiday and not even kind of think about it, right? Even if you're in a super male dominated industry, and even if you feel like, you know, those pay raises are just like mythical and they never happen to folks like you. Also for folks who are on maternity leave or about to take parental leave, it's a really good time for you as well. It's not probably the greatest use of your time if you're already crushing $50,000 pay raises or 20% increases every year. You're probably good. If you've been out of work for more than a year, I have a friend who has a great course, but this probably isn't, you know, the best conversation for you. And if you think that getting paid more money is really easy, this probably isn't for you either, because it does take work, but it's totally possible. Feel free to take notes. You can take screenshots, of what you're learning today. Go ahead. This is for you. I want you to share it. I want to spread this message far and wide because I love what we do and I love seeing the results that we get. Like people like someone in the course who graduated recently who sent me this note. She got a 14% raise plus a 14% bonus when everyone else was getting 5% max. So it's pretty awesome. So here's why any of this matters, right? Like, here's why you should stay here and not necessarily go and watch Netflix, or get a coffee with a friend, because, we spend a third of our life at work, which is no joke, right? Like a third of our life at work. So we may as well be happy and we may as well enjoy it, right? And the other thing is that money really does matter. Even if you're not driven by money, even if you don't want a Porsche, even if that's not your jam, like it's really important. And if you look at this over the long term, if you get a $5,000 pay increase today, $5,000, that's it. And by the way, that's kind of like the lower end of the spectrum that I'd be happy with for you. I wouldn't want you to get any less than that, put it that way. But if you do get a 5K pay increase today, when that compounds over the next 40 years of your career, that's like almost 1.4 million bucks. Like $5,000 now equals $1.4 million over the next 40 years. So it's sort of a big deal. So you can see how if you get $7,000, $13,000, $27,000 today, that figure by the time you get to retirement is kind of bananas. So that's why this matters. It's not just about the money, it's about the freedom that supports you and you and your family and the choices that it gives you down the line. So I want to take us through a super quick exercise now. I want everyone to kind of close your eyes if you feel comfortable. And I just want you to kind of like project into the future. Like you in 3 years from now, if you were getting paid the salary that you would love, that you'd be obsessed with, like if you in 3 years' time totally had the paycheck that had that number that you wish that you could get, what would that do to your life? Like what would the biggest change be in your life if you were able to get that number on your pay stub? Let me know in the chat if something comes up for you. I've got some ideas that I wanted to share. Maybe it looks like flying business class. Maybe it looks like throwing a party. Maybe it looks like taking your kids on a holiday. Maybe it looks like a house. Maybe it looks like painting the outside of your house, which is a project that I'm embarking on this year. So like, wish me luck with that. Like, what does that look like for you? Maybe it looks like paying off your mum's car. Maybe it looks like only working part-time. I don't know. It's different for everyone, right? But the thing is that, if you don't take action, there's a cost to that as well. Not just to your happiness and the things that you can't afford to do, right? Which may be aligned with some of these things on screen. And you'll see people putting some examples in the chat coming through. But there's also a cost if you do nothing, right? And it doesn't just impact you, it impacts other folks around you as well. Just as it impacts folks around you for the better if you do take action, and if you can get closer to that number that you know you're worth. You and I know it, but we just got to make sure that we can strategize to get you there so that your bosses know it too, right? Like Fatima said, like freedom, starting a business, sleeping better. Yes, a friend of mine just made a lot of money and she said she started dreaming again. She reckons she hasn't dreamed for 3 years because she's been so stressed. I've never heard anyone say that. It was kind of interesting. More investing in charities. Yeah, totally. That's something that's a big priority for me this year, Mimi, so I can really relate to that. Second house, providing for your dad. Yeah, like taking some of the stress off. So I want you to like anchor on those ideas, because when we're in a situation where we have to get a little uncomfortable, having that sort of excitement and that possibility as a visual anchor for us down the line, it can kind of help us navigate through the awkwardness. And there might be some awkwardness that comes up for you today as we talk about the system and the strategy that I talk about in the Career Level Up program and that I'm going to talk to you about today, right? Because I really want to talk to you about anti-negotiation, because I want you to reframe away from kind of the fear and anxiety that can come up when we think about negotiation. I want you to get to a point where you can shift your mindset and your attitude towards your career. So it's less of a like you asking permission, and it's more of a you following a roadmap that you know works. So it's just a step by step by step by step, and we're going to take a lot of the emotion out of it, and we're going to go back to the facts. I know a lot of you, but for those of you who I don't know, my name is Meggie Palmer. I founded PepTalkHer because I had my own experience where candidly I got totally screwed over on pay. I used to be a journalist and I found out by accident that the men in the newsroom were earning more than me. I said something because I thought that that's what you did. And I was told that if I didn't like it, I could quit or I could take them to court. And they didn't like that. Well, sorry, I didn't like it when they said that to me, and I wasn't going to quit. And so I did get a legal team, and it was a very stressful situation. I don't know if I'd recommend it to anyone. I had anxiety for the first time. I couldn't leave my apartment for weeks because I was so stressed about that whole legal process. But for me, it was just like, equality is such a core value to who I am. Like, I've cared about it since I was a little kid. And I used to get in trouble for stuff my brother did. It's always pissed me off. And I've taken that with me into adulthood and now indeed into my career as well. Right. And so this is like, I've lived some of the things that I'm sure that you've lived as well. Right. Like, you probably worked hard, you were great at your job, and maybe like me, you were overlooked for pay raises and promotions, and it's total bullshit. It was for me, and I'm sure you, well, I hope you have. I hope you haven't, but I suspect that many of you have had that as well, right? And nothing seems to work. You just keep working harder, you win awards, you do longer hours, and just nothing worked. And what I've realized now, like, I used to feel super stuck and like nothing would change. But I now know, on reflection and through all the work I've done with academics and through training and coaching hundreds of executives, I now understand that there's a missing piece, right? And I hadn't figured it out, but some of the blokes in the newsroom had. And perhaps you can relate to folks in your work situation who just seem to always have the Midas touch, right? They just like always get the job, they always get the raise, the boss loves them, whatever they want seems to eventuate, right? I didn't figure that out for a very long time, the missing piece, but that's what I'm going to talk you through today, because when I figured it out, all of a sudden everything changed, right? Like, I went from being underpaid and undervalued, and I, got to a place where I tripled my salary in 3 years. Now that doesn't always happen, but for me, that was the consequence of understanding that kind of aha moment, right? And that's where we're going to get to today. And what actually happened was, as soon as I started earning more money, as soon as I figured it all out, actually I started working less. And that anxiety that I mentioned earlier dissipated, such that I actually, at the moment, am not experiencing that, right? Which is a really great thing. But it took me a long time to figure that out. So my attitude towards the gender pay gap and all of the bias and misogyny that exists is, instead of getting mad, let's get even, right? And that's certainly what we do in our course. And actually, there's a couple of folks here today. I can see Cecilia, Lucy are here, who are graduates from our program. We'll talk a little bit more to them later. But, people are getting in our course things like at least $5,000 extra in pay, 13% pay increases, sign-on bonuses, stuff like that. That's kind of game-changing. All up, we have helped folks get more than $3 million in pay increases, which I'm really proud of. And it's possible for you as well, right? And there's a roadmap that we're going to follow, and the roadmap works even if you're in an economy that you think is a bit iffy, even if you're in an industry where you think maybe it's not possible, and even if you think it's not possible for you, we're going to shatter a lot of those myths for you today, right? So the career level up roadmap looks a little bit like this, right? So it starts with career clarity, getting clear on like, who are you and why are you different and where are you going? What is that North Star, right? Like, that's the first thing we unpack. Then the second step of the roadmap is the confidence, the external piece. So we move from the internal personal piece to the external piece. And then the third part is really the human factor. That's the missing piece that I had missed for a very long time. And I'm going to talk to you today about what that looks like. Right. So let's just rewind all the way to the start. So when I talk about like the personal piece, that's like you getting really honest about what do you really want. Like, you might be really frustrated about what you're getting paid or the way that your compensation is structured, but do you really want what comes with the extra salary or the different bonus structure or the flexible working conditions? Are you willing, and do you want that, right? Like, not only do you have to have the conversation, you then have to live with what comes with that. And for some people, they're happy with that and other folks are not, right? So it's just getting really clear on what you actually want and then going about asking for that in the right way, such that it's really easy for your boss to say yes, such that they don't want to say no. And that they actually can't, right? Because of the way that you framed it, because we're going to really, lean into the data and make sure that it's super, super clear. The other thing to think about when we think about your personal piece is like, what is your leverage? So like, and by the way, if you've got questions, pop them in the chat and I'll address them as we go. I'm a bit of a multitasker, so I'll make sure that I kind of come in and out of the questions as well. Nice to see you, Jen. You just popped up on my screen. Hi. Hi, Lisa. So the personal piece is like understanding like, what is your personal power? Because I can't compete with your, right? Like there's things that I'm much better at than you, and there's things that you are way better at than me. And the first step is understanding that. Because if you don't understand it, you can't sell it, right? And really, the anti-negotiation framework is about leaning into your strengths and what makes you unique, and then making that very clear to other folks. And then that way you're never in competition with anyone else, right? Because you're just leaning into you and your zone of genius. And that's all you have to do, right? And if you walk away with nothing else from today, I would love it to be that you do have power, and that your personal piece and your personal story is valuable. And also you have leverage. Often we think, oh my gosh, big employer, like they have the power to promote me, to hire me, to fire me. But don't forget, if you were bad at your job, they would fire you. If you're crap, they're going to get rid of you. The fact that you still have a job tells me that you're probably pretty good. The fact that you're here today tells me that you're very interested in personal development. And that makes me think that you're probably very, very good to excellent, right? And if that's the case, employers 99% likely don't want to lose you. And that means that you have leverage. We talked a little bit earlier about the fact that to recruit a new staff member typically costs anywhere from 20 to 30% of their salary. Right? So there's a dollar figure to you staying with the business. So when you understand that and your leverage, are you the only woman on the engineering team? Are you the only, parent on your team? Like what is it about you that's different? What's your leverage? What diversity do you bring to your team? And is that important to the company? And if so, that's part of your your personal story, your personal piece that you really want to lean into when you're thinking strategically about what your journey looks like, right? About what your career roadmap journey looks like, and how you're strategically going to step through that. So that's the first thing that I really want you to nail, right? The second thing is to really think about the external piece as well, right? Like what else is going on that gives you leverage and the capacity to have more context than just you and wanting a particular role or a particular pay raise, right? Because what happens is a lot of folks don't see the big picture when they're strategically mapping out their career and having these conversations with HR or their management or their boss, right? So it's not just about you, and it's not just about the company either, right? Like there's an external piece that's going on. So I don't want you to forget about powerful variables like the economy, like office politics, like the industry, like company performance, like non-monetary benefits. Like you want to sort of take the blinkers off. And when you're strategizing how you go about these conversations and how you play this long game, it's not just about what you want and what your boss wants. There's more at play. And the more that you can do that mental gymnastics ahead of time and kind of see the forest from the trees, the better positioned you'll be to pivot the conversation and to objection handle and to see in advance some of the challenges that might come up. Give you an example. I think she's actually on the call. Someone in our Career Level Up program at the moment, we're just about to have graduation. Last night, she was telling us, she was promised a pay raise last year, and the boss has since been retrenched because the company is going through some challenges, right? So she's now having to really make sure that she takes into account the economy, the company's performance when she thinks about how does she continue to push for that raise that she was promised, even though those executive sponsors and mentors have now been fired, frankly, from within the business. So you've always, you've got to think quite strategically about this, right? When you're mapping this out. And then, the third piece that I probably failed at, obviously, honestly, earlier in my career, I didn't think I did this very well, is the human factor, right? So it's not just about the conversation and scripting in advance what you're going to say in the conversation, how you're going to email HR, how you're going to position this. There's so much more going on, right? Like we know our internal piece and where we want to go. We've thought about the external piece and the other factors that are going on, but don't forget the human factor, right? That third piece really does dictate the success or otherwise of a conversation, because your boss might have an ego, they might have an attitude towards pay. I had a boss early on in my career as a journalist, and he hated it when people asked for pay raises. He just had a bee in his bonnet, and if you dared talk about money, he got so pissed off. You could ask him after you got an award, but if you asked him any other time, you couldn't do it. So you had to understand that and kind of strike when the iron was hot. You had to sort of know that. Do they have influence? Are they getting pushed out? Are they about to get promoted? Do they have extra budget they need to get rid of? Who do they have relationships with in finance or on the executive? Are they going through a divorce? Did their son break their leg at hockey last night? Like, taking into account all of these things is actually important because timing is crucial. You can have the best conversation and the best strategy, but if you implement that at the wrong time, it all goes out the window, right? So think about that person who always gets promoted, who always gets what they want in your orbit. Why do their managers love them so much, right? Like, it's that human factor. We know that people want to do business with people that they like. Now, that's not fair and that's not equitable necessarily. Putting that to one side, if we know that those are the rules of the game, we can better engage, right? And if we understand that the human factor is crucial, we can start to put in some of the hard yards now so that will pay off for when we're having these conversations. So I want you to just keep that in mind because, you know, again, I've made the mistake of sort of downplaying that and thinking that my results would speak for themselves and forgetting that actually I needed to strategically strengthen key relationships at the right time in order to be able to navigate my career to have the success that I have, right? So this is about getting really clear on, like, why do they need you? So your job is to make it very easy for them to say yes. That you have to set it all up so that it's kind of like evidence, like build this really strong pyramid so it's a no-brainer. That part you can control. There's a lot that you can't control in this world and in your career, right? And we're not going to dwell on that because that's like I can't control what the Reserve Bank does. I can't control what happens at the next election. I don't know. This is what I can control. I can control my human piece. I can control my understanding of the external piece and how that plays into my company and my role. And I can certainly control how involved and how seriously I take the human factor piece. Like, I have control over that, whether I'm a remote employee or an in-person employee as well, right? Like, both of those things are crucial. And we've got a question that's coming through, which we're going to get to in a second. Like, and to be honest, Bianca's question is like, how do you pivot this when there's like, well, you know, it's not me, it's further up the food chain, the decision's above me, I can't control it. That comes back to the human factor. So if you know your boss is candidly weak and doesn't fight for their employees, you got to put in hard yards earlier. Can you go above your boss without like ruining the office politics? Like, how else can you start to influence at different levels? Who else do you know who can influence at those levels? Like, we got to get a cheer squad going for you in, round, outside the edges, so that if you have that experience, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting, because Joanne, who's the CFO, was having lunch with me last week and she indicated that there was absolutely a bonus pool. How do I get a piece of that? You know, like, what extra information can you glean? Now, it's tough and it takes work, right? But it pays off. And I want you to be the one who's got that extra information, because when you have more information, and we talk about this in the Career Level Up, like, you are a better negotiator. When you do that Nancy Drew detective work ahead of time, you have those clues that mean that you get a better result. Okay, cool. There's another question too about what do you do for the boss who says that you've had the most raises compared to the rest of the team? So what I would say, Laura, is I would be like, absolutely. And I wouldn't expect anything less given the amount of success I've had compared to the rest of the team. Shall we take a look? Shall we go through the app and recap all of the things that I've done? I'm not surprised either. And I expect that to keep happening. So actually, you know, again, it comes back to understanding your personal power. Yeah, you do get a lot of raises. Yeah, because you're bloody excellent, you know, and like 100%, they're lucky to have you, you know, and candidly, if they don't think they're lucky to have you, and if they're going to play those, well, you got 3 and Joanne's a bit rubbish, but they have only had 1, like, okay, well, maybe that's not a culture of excellence. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's time to talk to a recruiter. I don't know. I'd need to know the full situation, but, you know, just to say there's always options, and you're in control of building the relationships such that you have that inflow of options, right? So yeah, so I think that's an important thing. So I'll give you an example, and I think Lucy, who's on the call today, knows this person. So B went through our program. She's a media professional. She works for a media company in the United States. And she was kind of honestly a little bit shocked. She went through the roadmap of planning out the different steps, and she couldn't quite believe it, but they actually said yes to everything. because she'd taken into account her personal power, she knew the external factors, and she was clear on the relationships and the human piece. And what that looked like for her was an extra $146,000. Now, that wasn't just salary. Some of that was bonus and increased in equity. But like, she was pretty stoked, and she attributes most of that to the human factors, right? So it's oh, Shubers, sorry, I just put the wrong slide up there. So yeah, it's about like, if you follow the steps, it's very possible. So you don't have to freak out and think like, I don't even know how I get to here, to a $5,000 pay raise, let alone a six-figure one. You don't have to even worry about that, because we breadcrumb drip feed you to get there. Like, you're not on your own. And you're also not just kind of flying blind, like, we've built the roadmap. We know that it works. The personal piece, the external piece, and the human factor is the roadmap that leads you towards the crazy results that I'm so proud of the folks in our community when they follow those steps, and again, there's work involved. I'm not going to tell you can click your fingers and it happens. I hope that you've had some aha moments already in our conversation, and I hope that you've had that through the other interactions you've had with PepTalkHer, whether it's our Instagram, the app, the challenges, and there's more that is possible for you, because it's been possible for hundreds, actually at this point, thousands of other folks who've been through our programs. So keep the questions coming in the chat. I want to get to as many of those as I can. But I wanted to also share with you, the steps of what it looks like to move from this stage to a bigger involvement with me as your coach and with a cohort, right? Because one of the things that I found when I went through my challenge, or I've had many challenges at work, but especially when I went through that pay dispute, I just felt alone, because I didn't know anyone else who had called out their employer. I didn't know anyone else who was trying to get pay raises. Everyone I knew was just kind of like, well, I'm kind of lucky to have a job. And that just wasn't me. And I was like, am I the only one that feels like this? And the good news is that you're not, because there's another couple hundred folks who've joined today who are feeling very similarly. And what it looks like in terms of the Career Level Up program is it's super simple. You enroll, you get instant access to the course and the back end and our private Slack. There's like step-by-step guides, there's like fillable workbooks, there's salary scripts, there's videos, and then I do live coaching as well. So every other week we will meet on a situation like this, and I will live coach you through the curriculum and then take question and answer. So yesterday we had one of the sessions, we had someone who's applying for jobs, so we were coaching that. We had someone, I was mentioning, the person who promised her a pay raise has quit. So we were workshopping that. Someone else is about to take maternity leave, so we're workshopping that. So you get access to me, and I will coach you through that as well. And you get lifetime access as well to the portal and any of the updates that come with that, and our amazing community, who you'll meet a few of them in just a second as well. So the Career Level Up itself looks like 8 modules, and it goes for 8 weeks. And as I said, there's live coaching with me every other week. So it's about 4 or 5 hours of coaching with me. There's scripts, templates, heaps of community support. That private Slack channel, I actually just posted in there today. A friend of mine, a fellow female founder, is running an unthinking drinking workshop. So I just put the code to that event in the Slack this afternoon, actually, because she asked me to invite the PepTalkHer community. So this is actually a video, but I don't know if it wants to play. Oh, there you go. So you can see, like, this is like some of the chat that comes through on the Slack channel. Everyone's kind of like sharing their wins or their dramas at work that day. So it's nice. It's like a lovely community where you feel connected. And as I say, I will also be keeping you accountable. So we did a network mapping session, and everyone said and committed to reaching out to one person, and I will follow you up and be like, did you reach out to Maria? You said you would. You told me you admired John. Did you send him a message on the internal, meeting thing so that you could get a coffee with them? So you feel like you're getting that momentum throughout the program as well. So peptalkher.com/CLU will give you access. You get the first access to enroll in our first cohort for 2024. I'll quickly run you through what it looks like: increasing confidence and banishing imposter syndrome for good. That's really the personal piece, right? So understanding your values and strengths and how those are different to other folks, going through the neuroplasticity framework, which is super valuable. So it's really rooted in neuropsychology, and focusing on how do you get over that imposter syndrome, because hands up if you've ever experienced it. We know that more than half the population does, myself included. The second module is really about on finding your fulfillment and getting paid well for it. You don't have to love your job but get paid badly. That's not how it has to work. So we really unpack that. And then we talk about getting what you deserve and more. So you probably have an idea in your mind of what that would be glorious to be. And I'm going to push you to actually think even bigger than that, because I bet that not dreaming big enough. I want you to be adding sales tax on top of whatever you think is possible. So I'm really going to push you. I'm going to share with you this amazing website that not many people have access to that gives you real-time data of what companies are actually paying, including their benefits. So that's really awesome. The anti-negotiation framework, which has like scripts and frameworks so that you and your employer both feel like it's a win-win. So when I talk about anti-negotiation, it's not like fists on the table, like screw you, give me what I want. It's very collegiate. It's very like you scratch my back, like let's grow together. That's the attitude that I take. And it's not just like theory books, it's very practical and like, but what if this happens? But what if they say no? So there's scenarios all mapped out for you. And we'll go through customizing that for you. And then the other module is really like thinking about that human factor we talked about earlier, the make or break. The human factor is so important. And the thing is that like, I want all of you to have multiple plan Bs. Yes, I want you to get paid more where you are. Yes, I want you to get promoted. Of course, tick, tick, tick. But that's not enough because if there is something out of your control, like a recession, like a CEO who, ends up on the front page of the paper for the wrong reasons and there's a restructure, I need you to have other options. I need you to have a network of folks that you can pick up the phone because it's not awkward because you've been cultivating them, because I've been kicking your ass in the course to cultivate them, because I've been making you like calendar that. Like it's an ongoing process. And these are relationships that you'll have, by the way, 10, 20 years from now. And they're going to have your back ongoing. It's not, and you need to have that funnel of opportunities because then also you've got more leverage, coming back to that personal piece that we talked about at the start, right? So that's a bit about the course. If you've got questions, you can let us know. We've got a heap of bonuses if you join today. Like everyone who's here is going to get, and basically you're all here, so you're all going to get the network map matrix. So we'll get Kim and Josie to circulate that to you after this call as well. And then anyone who joins the Career Level Up today is also going to get access to the Sally Scenario Bible, Boundaries Without Being Bitchy, Being Seen as Bitchy, and also the lifetime access. And then plus the first 3 people who sign up today are going to get a one-on-one coaching session with me. Excuse me. So that's fun. And I'm looking forward to that and getting to know you all. So let me just bring up here it is. This is the URL, peptalkher.com/CLU. So you can just click through. So the price of the course is $397 a month for 6 months, or you can pay in full and it's $19.97. So that's the good news. And then also Kim has a code that she's going to pop in the chat because I don't have it, but she has the code that also gives you, I think it's like $100 off, Kim. It might be more. It might be, I think it's 200. I think it is 200 actually. Okay, there you go. It's 200. So if you put Legend 200 in, then you get $200 off. So that's just valid for the end of today. Thank you, Kim, for putting that in. Lucky you're on top of things. Kim's on my team. Shout out to her and Josie. So that code will give you $200 off, which takes it down to, I guess, like that's like $1,800, something like that. So that's kind of like the nuts and bolts of what the course looks like. We also, we have a 7-day money back thing. So if you're like, this is shit, it's not for me, that's fine. Just email the team, they'll sort you out and refund you. I don't think that will happen, but it might. We've had one person ask for a refund in the last 5 years. And so we gave them a refund. That was fine. Most people are really happy, but as I said, we have had one refund in the past. So that's that. And then let me see what else I've got to share with you that might be helpful. And now it's just bringing this up like really big for me, which is really fun. So any questions that are coming up? So basically we meet, also some people will ask about the time. So we meet on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, which is I think 8 or 9 a.m. if you're in Australia, which is I think 10 p.m. if you're in London. And then all of the live coaching sessions are recorded as well. So you have access to that. You get access to the full coaching, like library of all the back coaching things. So for example, one of our students, actually, she's a data scientist. She works in AI and she used the negotiation. She went through our course maybe like 18 months ago. And then she just got transferred to Bermuda. So she went through the content again. And just the negotiation section. She messaged me the other day to say, I just went back and used the course again to kind of access that part of it. So the good news is that you always have access to that, which is great. So if you want to like rewatch something or if you want to redo a worksheet or something like that, as and when you're changing jobs or whatever, you can do that. What we normally find is that most folks see a 4 to 8 times return on investment typically. So what does that mean? Basically, it means, let me just screen share this for you. I've done the maths because I love cranking out mathematics. Okay, so what does that mean? So basically, like if you're earning 100 grand, and then it's my hope that you'll like have your aha moment and figure out the missing piece that you've been looking for. And let's say you get a 5% pay increase, which is the worst case scenario that I would expect for you. Then you would get, you know, a 5x return on investment, right? If you got a 10% raise, it would be a 5x. If you got a $5,000 raise, it would be a 2.5x return on your investment. And you can see how, you know, obviously if you're getting a $30,000, you know, it kind of becomes a 5, 6, 7x return on investment. And as I say, if you join and you're like, this is just not what I thought it was, then Kim and the team will refund you. So are the dates fixed? So this cohort, so I'm for sure running this cohort. So we start, and Kim can remind me, I think it's the 9th of February or the 6th of February, whatever that Tuesday is. I should know this, shouldn't I? So let me bring it up for you. But it's the 6th. So we start on the 6th of February. And so we'll go through till April. So that's how long the course will go for. I'm happy to talk to you separately if you want to email me. I'll put my email in the chat to see if the timing is right. I don't know if I'm running it again this year. There's a couple of reasons for that, which I'll share with folks in the course. I actually haven't told anyone this, but we're launching a podcast, which is exciting. So that's going to take up quite a lot of time. So I just don't know if I will be running it again. I might get one of my executive coaches to run it. But I am personally coaching this cohort for sure. And I will also continue to coach and lead our mastermind, which folks like Lucy are in as well. So I'll introduce you to Lucy in a second. And yeah, actually, Jen raises a good point. Often your employer will cover the cost. So a lot of people will join the course and then we'll actually send you an invoice and we will frame it very much as a leadership program and your boss will reimburse you. So we have a URL that we have like a script that you can use as well if you want. So Kim might want to put the link to that in here as well, so you can kind of copy and paste it for your boss in case your boss says no. But then we can always send you an invoice later, or if we need to refund you and charge the corporate credit card, we can get creative and do that too if you need us to. Kim's very, very good with that. If you are unemployed, if you've been unemployed for more than a year, this isn't the course for you. Maybe him, or if you want to send me a DM and I'll see if I think it's a good fit for you. I have another friend who's really good for folks who've been unemployed for a while. But this is for really people who want to make a shift in their existing job or who are stepping into a new job, probably in the next 6 months, whether it's a new company or internally, right? So I just want to be very clear on who it's for and who it's not. I don't want to take the piss and like tell you to join and it's not going to give you what you need. I'll always be very transparent about that. But let me introduce you to Lucy. Hi, Lucy. You can chat. Cool.
Yes.
Hi. So Lucy went through our program, I want to say 2 years ago, was it at this point? I think.
It felt a while ago. It was like in the April 2021. Oh,
okay.
That's a while.
Maybe that's like 3 years ago. So quite a while ago, and Lucy's in our mastermind as well. So we also have a mastermind, which is for folks who are really wanting to kind of like double down on professional development and like financial freedom and all that kind of stuff as well. So Lucy, for you, like you're on the fence about joining initially. Like why were you on the fence? And do you think it was a good decision that you did join?
I was on the fence because legitimately I never spent like that much money on my own like personal development before. It was just never a thing I thought I needed to do. But I think once I shifted, it actually shifted my mindset to even like ask my boss for it, and which got approved. And then ultimately I got 10 times what my original investment was. And I think it just helped me like put in new frameworks around not trying to do all of this alone, and that taking like an outer perspective really reframed the way I was like tunnel visioning before. So I think of things that like held me back. I was like, probably scared and trying to be confident through my fears. But ultimately I just needed some additional support, and I needed a framework that would have taken me like a lot longer to do by myself. But I think also through all of my 3 years with you, I think if you don't mind, I would love to share some like really good insight that I thought like stuck with me. Is like I really learned to advocate for a whole system, not just like for myself. I think starting with myself was important, but at work, I advocate for a whole like system. So if people don't know, I'm a market director in the industrial hydraulic space. And it's mostly men here, and no one really sees me as, they see me when, I act more like them, but I like to act more like myself. So I think advocating for a new system that sees me as part of the diversity, and that the company also needs to care about why I matter to their space, made a really huge impact on just my ability to advocate for myself, because I really couldn't do it alone. And then I also started looking into, I think I remember I had a really hard time, and Maggie, you said this to me, but you didn't remember, but you said, don't let others dim my light. And I was like, wow, I really do that a lot. I let a lot of people, I like to be humble, at times, so when I do that, I'm like, no, I think I'm dimming my light because I'm scared of how other people judge me. So I think part of all of that really created a new version of myself. So.
Yeah, right. Oh, thank you for sharing that. I love it. I love it. And Lucy, one of the things that, and listen, in an ideal world, like none of us would ever have to negotiate our salary, because there would be this equitable framework, and like we would live in this utopia, and I wouldn't have a job. And I hope that one day I am unemployed, because it is outrageous that in 2024 we're still having these issues. But it's also just like the system is broken, to Lucy's point, and people like Lucy are dismantling the system internally in their own ways, which I am so impressed by. And that's kind of, I want to kind of co-conspire with all of you as well, so that you can dismantle things so that it works for you. And then you can also, by the way, I expect and I hope that you'll go on to be allies for other folks too. And hopefully we'll be, I mean, the UN is saying 1 to 200 years till we get to equality. Like hopefully it'll happen sooner than that with all of us. Like I really believe in this ripple effect of like a small wave leading to a tidal wave eventually. And so Lucy, I really appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, the authenticity piece is real. Like, I don't want you to go in and feel like you have to be super masculine in how you negotiate. I want you to feel good about it at the end of the day. I want you to maintain great relationships, albeit having hard conversations sometimes. Both can be true. And that's what we talk about, the nuance. And it is just like, it's just sometimes it's tiny tweaks. And the thing is, if you put a foot wrong, it can be very awkward. Like you can think you're doing the right thing and you can really damage your relationships politically. So the office politics module is actually really powerful. As well, which is the last module that we work through, which Lucy, I know you've implemented in various different ways, and understanding those rules as well. So if we've got any questions, send them through. Some folks are asking about the time commitment. The live coaching with me is an hour. And then, like Lucy, you can probably speak to this. Like you can, ideally, I would love for you to join the live calls or at least watch it back. I think that would be really impactful, even if you're going for a walk, listening to the audio. Other than that, you can invest 10 minutes a week or 10 hours a week. It's really up to you. And then you will always have access to the Slack, right? So you will always have access to this community. It will be a lifetime situation there. So you're not going to lose this community piece either, which is kind of invaluable. But Lucy, what was the biggest thing that you got out of it? Like, I love that you're not dimming your light, nor should you. And you mentioned I didn't realize it was so big for you, a 10x ROI. What was the biggest learning? Like, if you had to sum it up in one sentence, what was the biggest thing you took away?
I mean, there's so many, but let me think on this. Like, I think it has to be about something about being unstuck. So I realized the being stuck part has to do with I was just miserably out of alignment. I know some people talk about like work-life balance and whatnot, but I like to think of it as like work-life alignment. So I spend a lot of time through the courses trying to look at the little pieces of how I can work towards that alignment. I think I have really good balance now, so I still need to like get more alignment, but I like kind of what you said, I like to be authentically myself. And I think when I started doing more of that, I could see how my environment in the workplace, we were adjusting the system to have more people that are similar to me. And I wasn't in this like, I don't know who to talk to anymore kind of thing, So I think going from stock to alignment, and then having the little modules that I need to spend time and create time for, so having that hour where I get just to hear everyone and then talk to you. I think that was like, I think that mattered like the most, because sometimes if I just have like a book, I'm not going to read it. Like, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. And I think having people hold me accountable helped me go from unstuck, to the aligned work environments.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you can Google that negotiation. There's heaps of great books on negotiation. I can send you some of them if you like. They're awesome. You should totally read them. And it's super different to like taking a text from a 300-page book and then like putting that into practice. Because the way you do that as an M&A lawyer at a big law firm versus, you know, when you're negotiating $300 million deals is very different to how you do it when you're earning $80,000, $180,000, $280,000 a year. And also, we know that there's a bias that impacts women. The way we negotiate impacts us. Men and women discriminate against how women negotiate, right? Like we're behind the 8 ball. And so really what I'm trying to do with the challenge and with the course is get you level set and hopefully ahead of the 8 ball for sure. Like that, I don't want you to be behind the 8 ball anymore. We want to kind of get over that bias that exists that I'm not overly happy about, obviously. And while we're dismantling that, just wanting to make sure that you all can get ahead. But Lucy, I really appreciate it. If folks want, I'll get Kim to put my LinkedIn in the chat. Up to you, Lucy, if you want to share your LinkedIn so people can connect with you as well. Lucy's doing amazing stuff in a very male-dominated industry. So I really just want to appreciate her and thank her for joining. I know we've got some other students who are here too who might want to chime in on the chat. They're more than welcome to. But if anyone's got questions, like, let me know. And we can answer any of those for you. Someone's talking about the age factor. Age discrimination is real. Are there ways around that? Yes, there are. The personal piece is really important again. And then the data tracking and just being very clear on that is key. So I think the first 2 modules will be really valuable for you. Rahini's saying I've out of work for 6 months. Yeah, I think it could still be a good fit, Rahini. Just email me and I'll just make sure because I don't want to give you a bum steer on that one. There's my LinkedIn. Lucy is in Los Angeles. I am in New York City if anyone else is. But yeah, I think Kim's put the link to the course in the chat. And if she hasn't, I'll pop it in now. It's just peptalkher.com/Tuesday Eastern Standard Time. For the live coaching. So I'm really excited. I love the cohorts. And as I said, I don't know if I'll I don't know. I'd like to run another cohort this year. I just have to be realistic because there's one thing that I can't talk about yet that's going to keep me very busy. And then the podcast, as I mentioned, which no one knows about, but now you all do. So I just don't know if I'll have time to run a spring cohort this year. So this might be the only one that I do, but potentially I'll get one of our other coaches to run another course. But I would say the other thing is we haven't put the price up for 5 years since we launched the course. And in the interest of practicing what we preach, we're going to be putting the prices up for the next one, whether that's spring or the end of the year or next year. I don't know when it'll be, but the price will be going up. So this is definitely the most cost-effective way to join. And as I said, if it's not for you after 7 days, you can just let me know. Thanks, Lucy. I'm excited about the podcast. Nice to see you, Jess. Jess has been through the program too, which is awesome. But yeah, any questions, let me know. And I'm happy to come back to you. If there's anyone else that you think would benefit from the course, feel free to obviously forward this to them or indeed the challenge. If you've been through the challenge this week and if you've enjoyed the process of pushing yourself and if you want to share that with someone else, we would love that. Yeah, thanks. I'm excited for the podcast too. Thanks, Sydney. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, if you've got other colleagues who are keen, I would share this link with them. This is a really good one for colleagues. Unless they want to join the course, in which case they're obviously more welcome. And then and I don't know if these spots might have already been filled, but I don't know if they have. But the first 3 people who join this cohort are also getting a one-on-one executive coaching session with me. So that's exciting too. So that's another incentive for folks who are on the call live. Nice to see you, Kath. Yeah, so yes, that's right. So Rahini's asking about the payment plan. So it's supposed to be $397 for 6 months, but the website hasn't been updated. So you should buy that now. For some reason, it's really cheap. I think that was like an old sale price or something, and the website just hasn't updated. So yeah, we're going to honor that, obviously, if you want to try that. But typically it's $397 for 6 months. But if you're on there and if it says $297, that's what the price is. So yeah, I'm not going to, I saw that before actually, Rahini. I was like, I think that's wrong. But anyway, it's wrong, which is a blessing for you. So go for it. So that's just like a nice way to kind of split it out over time as well. Yes, Kath is asking, is it in US dollars? It is in US dollars. And I know that that's punchy for the Australian and New Zealand folk here. And that's the other reason why I wanted to make sure that we offered the $200 US discount, because that brings it down a little. Because I know that the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar is a bit of a nasty situation at the moment. So we try and keep it as cost effective as we can. And that's why we provide the app and everything like that for free. And then this work and the corporate work that we do kind of funds all of our other impact work. So yeah, but any questions? Does anyone else have any questions? I don't know if Tatiana or Tammy or Sydney or Rachel, Mimi, if anyone else has any other questions as well, feel free to jump on in and I'm happy to take any questions too. But I can also talk you through, this gives you some more info as well of what's in the course. So we have like the ultimate compensation checklist, which is pretty good. So it's like a hectic list. It's a very long Google sheet that you can use for every job that you ever go to, just to make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table. There's like a cold email outreach template. There's the dream salary calculator. There's the over apologizing module, which I think, you might find helpful, like I did all those years ago. Building your community and your ride or die is a really fun module. And there's a script specifically that talks you through that. And then of course, all the plug and play negotiation scripts are super awesome too. So there's also like a heap of people who've been through the program that have talked a lot about the community aspect. Of course, I hope that you know by now the results that I would expect you to see from a compensation and monetary perspective, but also interestingly, it wasn't my intention, but actually the community, I think for a lot of people is sometimes their favorite part too, which I'm here for. It just wasn't necessarily how I designed it, but it's a lovely byproduct of the content as well. You can see here some of the, this is Sarah. She was like, what? She'd always wanted to crack 100,000. She didn't think it was possible. And then you can see from her reaction here on Slack, when she did, she was a little bit shocked. I think she's possibly still in shock to this day, and it was almost a year ago. And now I think she's about 40% up on that again, which is awesome. So yeah, this person got 52,000 extra, plus the bonus, which was variable, but at least she got the 52K on the base, which was awesome. And it was purely just that personal piece work that she did, just really owning her value and the leverage that she had. It made all the difference for her. And like, oh, I just love seeing these results come in. It's so good. So exciting. What questions? Oh yeah. So Rahini's asking like, how do you even know what that number is? So we talk about the wish, want, walk framework in the course. So you'll come up with 3 numbers: your wish, your want, and your walk figure, which again, we do an entire 2 hours of content on that. So I won't be able to truncate it into 2 minutes for you now. But that's what the calculator helps with. That's what your ride or die help with. And there's a bunch of other websites and tools that I give you exclusive access to that will really help you narrow down that number. And honestly, even access to that in and of itself is just like pretty invaluable, because yeah, otherwise you'll use Glassdoor, and Glassdoor will be like, marketing managers earn between $41,000 and $410,000, which is like highly unuseful. So yeah, we're not into, I mean, God bless Glassdoor, and it's, it's not unhelpful sometimes, but it's not specific and it's not good enough. So yeah, we help you go beyond that. So this is asking, so the $200 is off of the full payment plan. So it takes it from like $2,000 down to $1,800 basically. So that's for the pay in full option. Yeah. Yeah, so nice to virtually meet you, Tatiana. I'm excited. Yeah, and then you'll get, as I said, there's access to all of the recordings. And then one of the things that we're going to try and do this year is have some more in-person catch-ups. So watch this space for that with your cohort, and then obviously the alumni as well. So there's a couple of opportunities. One of them's in LA, one of them's in New York, and one of them's in Sydney. And we'll probably be doing one in Europe later this year too. So that'll be fun. And then everyone also, one of the other things that the team is going to help organize this year is more like community-led catch-ups, meetups, whatever they're called. So that if, like for all of our folks that are in Toronto, got quite a few people in Chicago and DC, and I know Cecilia was on the call earlier, she's in DC. So just like also trying to curate that community for you outside of the calls as well. I'm so glad it was useful, Kath. Great to see you. Yeah. So any questions, let me know, but I would love to see you in the program. And as I said, any questions, keep them coming through. You've all got access to my email. I think I'll just put it in the chat again. And if not, just reach out. I'll put the URL, the course again, and then we'll circulate after this the bonus that you're going to get access to. So that is the network matrix map. And then I'll also send you the link to the get your employer to pay for it script. You may as well, as I said, I always think it's better, firstly, to get the credit card points yourself and for that discounted $200 off, and then to get them to reimburse you. but it's your decision. So whatever we can do to help you with that, let us know. But as always, such a treat to see you all. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow and the next day for more live coaching, finishing off the challenge and going through those extra habit stackings. But it's been a treat to see you all, and I'm really excited to see a heap of you in the program if it feels like a great fit for you. Thanks, Fatima. Nice to see you. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, y'all.